We're alive today, day before Valentine's Day, to discuss some pivotal moments that are going on in this country. I don't doubt that other countries are battling some of the same disdain and ugliness, but I live in the United States of America, where freedom reigns, because Martin Luther King preached that throughout his tenure on this earth. We, as Americans, we have a democracy in this country that we vote for who we think that might best deal with our interests or cover our interests, or at least come close to what we want and how we want to live in this country. You know, there's been so many freedom fighters, so many, and I'm surrounded by many of them. As I walk into my office in the early morning, I'm greeted by a life's portrait of Martin Luther King on my wall. And this was taken during the I Have a Dream speech. And he had a dream, that we would overcome a lot of the racism and the bigotry and the discrimination in this country. Not to have it in our White House, with our congressional members, both Democrats and Republicans. We are witnessing some unforeseen things. I would ask you to take a look at an article I wrote dealing with the emotions and the issues dealing with Black America, Black history, because we're in Black History Month. On my left over my shoulder, you can see a picture of Malcolm X with his hand under his chin, contemplating what is next for a country that he lives in. What is going to be, and how the brutality among minorities, especially Blacks, can be eliminated from our society. We all want peace in this country. We all want to see our grace and the grace of this country trickle down to our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. But at this time, I'm not sure that we have that ability. Democracy has never been for Blacks or minorities. It's always been for the white society. And unfortunately, white men feel like they're the victim. Where we know in corporate America, CEOs, 90% of the CEOs are white. 90% of the board and the chairman of these corporations are white. And not saying that Blacks cannot be CEOs, because we have some. But we have a minute infrastructure that allows the ability for these corporations to see a Black heading their corporation. Just like a lot of Blacks, especially Black men, white women, didn't see Vice President Harris to be our president. They couldn't fathom a woman in charge of the most powerful nation in the world. You know, nobody is asking for America to give them a handout. We have welfare for that. Most Americans are living and not getting handouts. But even those that are getting handouts, the majority of are white. The majority of white families are getting subsidies. But it's not all about getting something. It's all about the freedom that we should have, all that we should have in this country. Because the Constitution was never designed to free black men, to free black women, to give them ability to vote. That came in time. That came with grit, with lynching in Alabama's all across the South of blacks that refused to stand down. That came with the killing of Medgar Evans because he refused to stand down. That came with the killing of Martin Luther King because he refused to stand down. Even JFK and his brother was gunned down because of their ideology, because they refused to stand down. Where are we going in the 2025? We understand that President Trump in Project 2025 was a roadmap to take all your rights, to diminish, to dismantle your life. What are we doing? Why are so many Republicans standing aside, watching this country being tore down? Maybe because they're millionaires, and maybe because they have millionaire friends. Well, I don't know any millionaires. I don't know any billionaires. But I do know that as a disabled veteran that fought for this country, I deserve, and many of us deserve better. Our rights are being dismantled because we had very few rights. A quote by Malcolm X said, "By any means necessary." But we have too many people in this country sitting on the sidelines, not thinking that they can make a change, that they can do something different, that they could vote in their state, in their local elections, to have some democracy, some sense of normalcy in their community. I don't have all the answers, and I don't think that I have all the answers, but I do write every day. I write small op-ed pieces about DEI. Why are we dismantling DEI? Why white women are not standing up for DEI? Because they were the most beneficial from DEI. DEI just says that give others the ability to make a change. Give others that chance that white folks have the privilege of. See, minorities in this country don't have that privilege. We never had. because slavery took that away from us. That the mentality of Jim Crow corporations took that away from us. But I always think about why we are so fragile in this country. Why are people so afraid to allow minorities and others to grace the stage of ability? Recently, I watched the Super Bowl, Philadelphia and Kansas City. And you had thousands of people in that crowd. Thousands of them. Maybe half of them voted for Trump, and maybe the other half voted for Kamala Harris, or maybe half of them vote for Trump, a third voted for Kamala Harris, and that other third didn't vote at all. What are we doing? Why are we so afraid in this country of each other? Thurgood Marshall wasn't afraid. All way to the Supreme Court. He sat on that bench to give freedom to others, to abide by the law. Something that our Supreme Court doesn't do. There's a whole lot of them in the Supreme Court that doesn't abide by the rule of law. And I'm not a lawyer, and I know the difference. What are we going to do? What are we saying? We are stepping on our ancestors that walk these streets, these roads for freedom. When I drove down to Florida to see my sister prior to her passing, I spent time with her and loved her because she raised me. She was a woman, a strong Black woman that raised me. But on the way to Florida, I always think about our ancestors and how they had to walk through these roads and avoid dogs and, being captured by the slave owners' catches. I think about that. I think about them doing that and me driving in my car. And how frightening and ugly that might have been to them. Frederick Douglass, born into slavery, learned and freed himself and gave himself the ability to change the world, to change people's minds. Nelson Mandela spent 28 years in jail as a political prisoner. Nobody knows what happened to this man. Nobody knows what prison does to a person. We really have to think. And we really have to be more. We have to be my brother's keeper. An old slogan formulated by the Black Panthers. Many people think the Black Panthers was an ugly, military organization. But they were formed in the community to feed the homeless, to feed the less likely, to educate those. What are we doing? How are we going to change the makeup? What we going to do in this country? How are we going to change our attitudes? And when are we going to change our attitudes? Corporations are like Walmart and Target and many more dismantling their DEI programs. Black people work in Walmart and Target. And Walmart, the overwhelming of minorities work for Walmart. People go in Walmart and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars every day. People do the same in Target. But these corporations and others, like Toyota and others, has bowed down to the king. And I'm not saying he's the king of America, but they bowed down to the Trump administration. The Trump administration doesn't have to be this ugly. You already are dismantling vital services that people need in this country. I was watching Roland Martin the other day, and a white woman from North Carolina said she voted for Trump and she regretted. But Roland Martin always said, "I told you so." She's regretted because she can't get Medicare for her children. Grocery prices, eggs are $9. Butter is $11. We can't survive on these prices. We can't feed our family on these prices. But we must endure. We must take this struggle and work hard to not let it defeat us. We need to understand that we cannot be defeated. We cannot be defeated. Over the decades, I've achieved so much. In the background, you probably can see plaques and awards and everything else. But most of all, I have in my office are pictures of my family. I lost my dear older sister, the last of the two, in July. And it hurts. But I feel better that she's not here to deal with this ugliness, continuing ugliness. And she was a praying sister. She prayed over me many times when I was sick in the military, wondering what was going on with my body. And when I came home, she nurtured me and loved me and told me that I can be somebody. And don't let the military define who I am. Because there was so much discrimination going on in the military when I was there. Probably still is. But I digress and I say that be stronger now than you've ever been. Get an appetite for life, for loving others. Black, white, purple, whatever the case might be. Because only you can define who you are, what you want to be, and how you want to do it. And with that said, remember our ancestors. Remember those that walked, ran, and escaped slaveholders throughout the South. During my travels, I often think about that. I often think about our ancestors and what they endured, and the lashes and the lynching. Some places I just don't go. I had shut down youth development because we were all over the country, especially in the South. And I'm just tired of looking at that ugliness. I want to look forward to see the great, the good of people and how we can work things out. Trump, I know you don't want to be this bad. I know you want to leave a legacy, some sort of legacy, that you were a good president. You have this chance to do better. You have this chance to let the American people know that you're not that bad and that you care. I don't know if you do or not. I don't know you. You're from my hometown of New York, but again, I don't know you. I just hope and wish that you do better, because there's so many people that fought for this country. And you have to fight for this country. You have to resist the oligarchs and those billionaires that are only with you because you're the president. Don't let them fool you. Don't let this country go down like this. I thank you. And I hope this live stream is viewed by thousands of people. Again, look at some of the articles that I've written on my blog called sledgehammerblog.com. That's sledgehammerblog.com. Or just follow me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Facebook. I thank you. Follow me, because I have a lot to say, and I'm continuing to write about what I have to say. We cannot destroy this country because of gold. We have to make our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren be the gold. Thank you.